Go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Castlevania Ravenloft RPG. Last we left our adventurers, they had defeated a bunch of twisted druids and odd other Castlevania-type monsters in the winery.
Yes.
I believe someone noticed a secret door down in the cellar where it's nice and cold, and they keep the wine fresh down there. Many broken bottles of wine are on the floor. That's where we last left everyone, correct?
Yes.
No,
we're
upstairs.
We're going to sleep.
We
I
went
think.
upstairs to Snoodle.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right. Yes, Alexandra had went to the master bedroom, and Jeeves had followed her, but she told Jeeves to get out sharply. After the battle had a stray arrow, which led to a purposely friendly fired battle axe.
Both criticals.
Yes, both critical hits. And then Jack was speaking privately with Alexandra. While that's going on, what are Jeeves and Elias doing?
Well, Elias just wants to go to sleep. But, depending on what happens with Jack and Alexandra, he may be roused. We'll see what happens.
It's not anywhere close to time for sleep, but you could take a short rest if you'd like. I could apply that to everyone.
It was very arousing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we came to the bedrooms, was to at least have a short rest.
Okay, back.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you.
Just applying a short rest to everyone.
Oh, good. So I don't die?
Well, not yet.
Yes, you can roll your recovery HD down at the bottom first page of your main sheet to get some health back. If you'd like, you can roll as many as you'd like.
Wow, -1.
Yeah, why does Jack have a -1 to his recovery there?
Because Jack's con is 8.
That's right, I remember seeing that now.
9.
Jack has not been very kind to his body over the years.
And here I was thinking you were a professional con man.
But I'm bummed.
Professional fool, totally different,
Oh, my bad.
with some significant overlap.
What does con stand for anyway? It's not
Constitution.
Yeah, Constitution.
No, I meant like
Oh, confidence man.
confidence. Oh, yes.
I'm not even kidding. That's what it stands for. It's because you gain the confidence of people around you. And on that same token, Crusader, would you like to discover a bridge I have for you in the state of Brooklyn?
No thanks, I'm good.
You could inscribe the name of God on it.
That'll be quite alright.
So Jack has a new toy.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
a branch smoldering with some sort of black energy.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
It's a cool thing. I'm hitting things with it.
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's pretty dangerous. So, watch out.
Almost assuredly.
Yeah,
Potentially to all of our destruction.
Jack's had enough time with it to realize that it could cause him to lose parts of his mind if he's not careful.
That happens a lot around here.
Oh, what's in a mind?
Miserable piles of secrets.
No, that's what's in a man.
Well, a man has a mind, and the secrets are there.
Not all men have minds.
True.
Look at the Burgermaster.
Those creatures are still left wondering.
What's the range? Or how far away are they?
Is this a cantrip?
It is.
I suppose given enough time, you can destroy all in sight.
Cool. Can I roll a d10 to see how many that is?
Did you have a defined amount of them out there, Mike?
Yeah, we started with a good amount. It started out as 30.
There was 20 of one and 10 of another, and then we killed 5 of the corpse weeds.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that Jack can kind of just plot-wise take care of the stragglers. So
Yeah.
that works well for me. No roll needed, Jack. If there's some out there left, they saw what was happening to their compatriots, probably self-preservation themselves in a different area.
Yeah, I've got some ranged attacks too, so theoretically I could have been helping him if he was having trouble.
Right, that's a good idea. From the second story here, you'd have good angles. But they wouldn't even regard Jack until Jack had started hitting them. And then that's when they see Jack as a threat.
Whew.
Sunraiser, you with us? Saw her connect.
Trying. computer is a total piece of shit and it can't do more than one thing at a fucking time.
Sounds like my laptop.
PC Master Race.
Right. If I could have the consistency of the console and still have all the access to my programs and stuff. Of course, if I didn't have this 5 or 6-year-old laptop, it would probably help.
So what's Jeeves doing?
Hanging out. Probably stitching my wound that Alex gave me.
Alright.
Cleaning the silverware.
Yes, cleaning.
As long as you're not literally hanging out, as in using the boots of Spider Climb to just like walk around like the ceiling.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Be kind of weird.
Do you know how long it's been since these chandeliers have had a proper dusting?
Imagine Elias like opening his eyes from like a short nap and just seeing a lot like Jeeves on the ceiling just looking at him. Hey,
How's it hanging?
you.
So there's this thing, gravity. Have you heard of it?
It's the law.
Yeah.
Laws of nature, laws of man, even ticket booths have rules.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Not as well as usual, but yes.
Okay, 1 second.
I can turn your volume up manually on mine. Good night, sweetie. Love you.
Is that any better?
Yeah. I think so.
I've got you turned up to 140.
Well, she sounded loud enough to me without adjusting anything. Now.
It was hard to tell off the one sentence.
Yeah. Well, this is good because we're gonna get the epic Jack and Alexandra exchange.
I have yet to read that, to be honest. I'm so busy.
Wait, was that posted and given to people?
I've seen it. I don't think anybody else has.
As long as Logan was in control of his character's decisions and actions and stuff, I have no problem. Whatever it was.
Oh, I was in control. I don't people and writing and hi.
Well,
Let me start over. Hi, my name is Logan. How are you?
I'm very well.
Actually, no, wait. Let's start over again. Better yet, if I have the chance to start over. Hi, my name is Jack.
Roll for
Definitely
deception.
character.
So April, yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I know you guys took those druids out pretty quickly, but overall, all of you took quite a bit of damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
than once?
You can do that more than once. You can, as long as you have hit points to spend. I mean, hit dice to spend. You can keep doing it. Just keep in mind that it takes a while for those to recover. It's not just full hit dice back every long rest.
Just want to get a little bit more healed.
Probably a good idea.
Does she get her pot roast back after a short rest?
Yes, I get my my wall meat back.
Well, that's
that
good.
recovers after a short rest.
Wouldn't that be handy in real life? Like, you just get up from a nap and, like, you've got some meat, like, in the wall. Hey.
Yeah.
I think there might be game designers in your life that put those there. You might want to think about.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, your life is just a video game.
I mean, that sounds great to me.
I guess just proves simulation theory is real.
Can't be worse than real life.
No, if you can't say that if you don't know what real life is.
I've always been curious if it was like some proto-Isaac or Hector who shoved the pot roast into the walls of Dracula's castle as like a joke.
I've never heard a good retcon that explains it best. So.
Seriously, I always imagined it's like one of the older forge masters who's got like problems with diabetes just hiding snacks for later.
Yeah. Well, they had to eat, you know.
How to fit a pot roast in a candlestick, I don't know, but...
Or maybe like one of the sympathetic forge masters was sympathetic to the Belmonts and left it there for them.
He just came through when he saw Belmont on the horizon. Huh, guess I'll raid the master's pantry, shove some shit in candles and bricks.
Well,
sure.
Maybe when the sacrifice was made from Leon's girlfriend, like maybe part of her soul was her love of cooking, and sometimes it just magically summons a bit of wall meat.
Yes.
Wow.
Sarah Trantoul, yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine Sarah
Sarah's
being that useful.
And it's not just the wall meat, like food is everywhere in Castlevania.
Meal ticket for the win.
Even New York style pizza is in the Symphony Castlevania.
Yeah, that was pretty jarring.
And sushi.
Well, it's Japan. It's always sushi.
Yes, Japan, but also not Japan. Transylvania.
And shiitake mushrooms. Those taste so gross. I hate those.
Well, they poison you in the game anyway, so that's appropriate. Or is that just the toadstool mushroom? I can't remember.
It's just a toadstool.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird food items in that game.
Yeah, it's the
Peanuts.
toadstools that poison you, not the mushrooms.
Yeah. I just remembered that after I said it.
Nope, shiitake gave you 30 health. I was continually munching on that.
Yeah, congratulations on finishing Symphony. That's awesome.
It's not the
Yeah,
hardest
I think
thing in the world, but
200.6, is that what it is? Percent?
yeah, without glitching anything.
I think in the end I ended up with like 198.2 and called it good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like, to get 200.6, you have to do some kind of silly things to fill it out anyway.
How much does it take to get the best ending?
It might be the 200.
196 or 198, I think.
That's probably right.
Is the best ending where Dracula's like, yes, I understand, and Maria runs after Alucard?
Yes. Alucard's like, I'm done, I'm going back to my nap now, and Maria's turning all stalker on him. I can't let him out of my life.
Like, bitch, you just met him.
Well, Richter does say, shouldn't you go after him, Maria? And she's like, well, yeah.
We just met.
If you just met Alucard, wouldn't you run after him?
No?
Uh-huh.
She's one of those that thinks he's overrated.
Oh.
Too popular.
Broody, cranky vampire asshole? No thanks.
If you met Dracula, would you run after him?
Oh yes.
And he's not broody or cranky at all. He's a very nice guy.
Cranky is Dracula cranky? Well, wait, what's his first name? Vlad Cranky Dracula. Okay, well, I think Mark is going to be back soon, and after that, I hope that you guys progress this game.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying. This computer's just slow as hell.
We've only got about an hour left. I'm sorry.
Well, that's super depressing.
Hey, sorry, I'm back. Again.
Welcome back.
Yeah, there's some crazy police action going on outside. Have to do
Does the Saturn version have the part where you fight Maria? I can't remember. Seems like it does.
If there is a version to where you fight Maria, I guess I've never played that version. I've never fought her.
Because there's some unused sound clips even in the PS1 version of Maria not being very nice. But I can't. I haven't played the Saturn version. I still need to do that. Back when I wanted to, in the old days, it was really difficult to emulate the Saturn. It's still not easy. Plus, it's not Iga's preferred, sanctioned version of the game.
Well, Fantasy Grounds and Discord are running. Manage them.
Yeah, what else do you need? Those are the best. So y'all ready for some role playing?
I don't know.
I guess.
Your dice.
As much as Jeeves is always.
Ah, hell.
Jeeves is always either dying or stealing something, so it's more like roll dying.
Wow.
Roll to not die.
Alright, what's going on? So we're just waiting on Alex, right?
Yep, I'm sorry. Google is just not cooperating. It's loading.
Why do we need Google?
Because Google Docs is where the script is saved.
Oh, okay. We're doing a script thing.
Have you had any more contact with Adi Shankar after the show came out, Mike?
No.
Yeah, I didn't expect you would. I mean, I know he said like it was possible to do the thing after the show came out, but I'm sure he's been really busy.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Alright. I've just loaded the whole thing up on my phone because I can't get this laptop to do fucking anything, so I'm good.
Well, we're ready when you are.
Would you prefer a specific song for this, Alex, son?
Nothing in particular, no.
Okay.
Something creepy and ominous, maybe.
I'll just leave it as is for now, then.
She should have been fast asleep by now, resting off the wounds from their recent battle to reclaim the vineyard and winery, but instead Alexandra's hand remained tightly curled around a dagger concealed beneath her pillow. Her eyes remained wide open, fixated upon an indeterminate point upon the other side of the bed where her brows furrowed and her head swimming with thoughts. And such awful thoughts they were. Thoughts of pulling that dagger from its resting place and drawing it across the neck of the only other occupant of the room. The image of Jack's fingers clutching at his throat as scarlet fluid bubbled and gushed from the ear-to-ear laceration, and the sound of his gurgling breath as he choked and drowned in his own blood.
Ew.
His eyes wide and desperate with fear brought a sick little smile to her face. Which she quickly realized disgusted her completely. Alex sat up in bed with a startled gasp, running her hand back through her hair and pulling it out of her face. Her fingers slipped off of the dagger and withdrew from beneath the pillow, and instead touched at her neck, chest, and collarbone once again, as if to check to make sure the wounds were truly gone. Letting out a heavy sigh of relief once she determined the flesh and bone were unbroken and pristine, she reached for the skin of water she'd left on the bedside table and took a deep swig from it. Her eyes eventually fall upon her companion, stretched out upon the floor with his legs upraised, feet propped up on the dresser in a manner that should have looked uncomfortable, but Jack didn't seem to mind at all. Without realizing it, her fingers began to creep back towards the pillow and the hidden blade beneath it, but she caught herself and stood abruptly. By God, what was the matter with her? Alex frowned as she carefully stepped over Jack, trying not to wake him, and moved away from the bed towards the window. She opened the shutters as silently as she could. Maybe some fresh air would help clear her head, or maybe she just wanted to get as far away from that knife and her sleeping companion as she possibly could. She didn't like the horrible things that had been brewing in her mind since breath returned to her body back at the Watcher house, and she certainly didn't want to act upon them. God. She stared out at the vineyard, leaning upon the window frame, and wrapped her arms around herself, trying just to keep her head clear of any thought at all. It was not an easy task.
Jack hadn't even managed to slip into the beginning stages of rest, instead merely taking his ease and keeping his pose behind the shelter of gently closed eyes. Where most considered sleep refuge from the day's events, the man who called himself Jack Motley feared little anymore so much as the gentle terror of Morpheus' embrace. Instead, his thoughts were taken up by the questions he still had, the mysteries still unsolved, from the whereabouts of the old crow himself to the sinister slivers of wood bound up into the crude semblance of a staff resting under his head as a poor replacement for a pillow. Ever since her death and resurrection the previous day, Alexandra had been different. Always before there had been the mission, easy to see behind her blue eyes, an eagerness for battle and conflict to prove her mettle like so many heroes of old. Now, however, that eager ambitiousness had changed, become darker, more wild and untamed, a lust and fire for destruction. Indeed, she only seemed at peace now when she was in the middle of the fray. Weapon in hand and blood on her whip, her actions followed suit. In truth, it worried him. No, it almost scared him after what she'd done to her most loyal retainer. Without hesitation, she'd taken blade to one of the men that had raised her and seemed to almost delight in his pain, so easily and efficiently did she make the decision to attack. When she eased herself from beneath the blankets, he heard the rustle and the gentle step as she tried to pick her way over his restive form. Gently, he let his eyes drift open as she went to the window and stared out, where the damned weed creatures likely still held the vineyard in a siege. After a moment, he sighed, and without moving his eyes from the ceiling, asked, her voice quiet, "Admiring your next challenge, Alex?"
Alex didn't need to turn her head, nor glance back to him. She could hear him just fine, and surprisingly enough, the sudden sound of his voice didn't startle her. She should have known that he too was still awake. Not that she really blamed him. After what she'd done, there would be no trusting her. Still, she managed a soft smile that he would not see as she shifted uncomfortably by the window. "I can't sleep." was all he would receive in reply. A few moments of silence hung before she worked up the nerve to speak again. I know you weren't either, Jack. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, he told her, shifting slightly to throw one leg over the other and relax. I can't complain too much. Still alive, still got my sense of humor. And, oh, yeah, I don't have an axe-shaped hole in me. His voice hadn't changed, still mocking tone that usually wrote it, even as he turned to look upon her, the edges of his lips playing upwards in a gentle smile. So you don't have anything to apologize to me for.
With that comment, she lowered her head and closed her eyes. She realized only after she'd swung the axe exactly what she'd done, and though she regretted it instantly, she didn't have time to think or feel. They were still surrounded by plants hell-bent on killing them. Even when they'd cleared the room, she'd just been so damn angry. How could Jeeves have been so careless? How could she have been so heartless? It had just been a mistake. She had to have known that. Yes, I do. I've been awful to all of you. I have to start somewhere, right? And you're right here, so it might as well be you. Alexandra paused and turned back just enough to glimpse him out the corner of her eye. I'm scared, Jack.
Oh, no, Jack started, making a dismissive wave with his hand as she paused and turned her head. You've been... Whatever response he was going to make died on his lips as she spoke 3 more words aloud that he was certain he wasn't going to have heard. Let himself be silent for a moment before he sighed heavily again. Of what, exactly, he asked for clarification, having a sneaking suspicion, but fearing to give voice to it.
Does it need be said? Turning fully towards him now, Alex stepped away from the window and back towards the bed, leaning over to slip her hand beneath the pillows. Withdrawing the dagger from its hiding place, she tossed it away from herself, towards the far corner by the door. I could have killed him, Jack. I thought about killing you. I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm scared. I don't want to hurt any of you. I don't feel right, and I don't know how to fix it, and... Her fist met with the pillows, sending a small puff of feathers floating out the sides of the old worn stitching. Why did you bring me back?
Yes, it does, he replied easily, as if clearing it up was so matter of course it should have been considered on the same level of breathing. He watched quietly as she angrily confessed her thoughts of murder. As the dagger flew, he sat up, legs folding beneath him, plucking the weapon out of the air with some small difficulty. She vented her frustrations upon the pillow. Does it need to be said, he mimicked, twirling the weapon easily around his fingers.
You should have just buried me and been done with it. She lifted a pillow from the bed and slung it half playfully, half carelessly at his face, sending yet more feathers free from the stuffing before pacing across the room restlessly. And you shouldn't have come after me in the first place.
Oh, absolutely, he said, not bothering to block the pillow. We should have absolutely just left you to be burned to death, buried on a pauper's grave as a criminal, and then swung on the gallows ourselves a few hours later.
Her eyes narrowed as she rounded on him. That's not what I... Glaring at him, Alex crossed her arms. You should have just left. Skipped town. You all would have been safe.
Oh, absolutely, Jack said, faking perfect sincerity. Absolutely, the Crusader and your butler would have absolutely just fled happily, leaving the semi-psychotic man behind to continue with his abuse of power, and leaving your death completely unavenged. In fact, they probably have forgotten all about you and never even questioned where you'd gone or why we never saw you again. Party of left, then, everyone's invited. He rolled his eyes hard at her, dagger still twirling idly around his finger.
Semi? She scoffed at that and couldn't help but smirk. Shaking her head once again, she crossed back towards the window. I didn't ask any of you to avenge me. I wouldn't have wanted it. I wouldn't have wanted for any of you to put yourselves at risk like that, Jack. It was incredibly stupid. He could have killed you all, easily. He was going to... You got lucky. Alex turned back to face him. What happened was my own fault. I should have known better, and it put you all at risk. I'm sorry. But you shouldn't have followed me. And you shouldn't have... Choking up a moment, she remained facing him, but looked away, back out the window at the misty vines.
It was absolutely your own fault, Alex. It was stupid and irresponsible, and it cost you your life, Jack Albert roared, gliding to a standing position and glaring at her, his jovial facade finally falling away. We let you go. We knew he was dangerous, and we let you go anyway. I let you go. I convinced the others that it was safer for you to go alone, that he was less likely to attack if it was just you on your own. I didn't know it then, didn't realize how like an animal he was and had become. But he was little more than a rabid beast by the time we got there. He attacked us, practically slavering at the thought of ending us as well, and we put him down like the rabid dog he'd become. The old fool shook his head, one hand covering his face and sliding down to fall limply at his side. I can't swear to the others, but I brought you back because I felt responsible. I was willing and ready and even intending to be the sacrifice upon your altar, Alex.
Don't you think I know that? You weren't the one in bed with him. You weren't the one with that hand wrapped around your throat, with your skin blistering and charring. You weren't the one he... Her hand came up to where that gaping wound from the axe once was, and she reached up to wipe away some of the tears that overflowed with the other. She looked downright terrified. I thought it would be better too. Safer. I didn't know. I should have known. Staunching her sobs, she stared at the floor. I thought... Her face cracked into a demented, half-hearted smile then, and she leaned her head back against the window frame, lifting her gaze back to the ceiling and closing her eyes. I don't know what I was thinking.
You weren't thinking, he told her after a long moment, chest puffing out before releasing in a long exhale, stepping closer to her slowly and cautiously. And we weren't either. We've made many mistakes since coming here. We had it too easy. Had done fantastic things that people around us called impossible. We needed a reminder that we are not invincible. I only wish that it hadn't been the one member of our group whose lifespan had not yet been long and lived.
Things he said to me, Jack, when he... She hadn't noticed his precarious approach just yet. It was probably for the best. I didn't fight him. I thought if I could just... Her thoughts weren't even coming out complete anymore. She was breaking. He almost listened. I almost... Wiping her eyes again, she finally spotted him, closer than he had been. The hair on the back of her neck stood on edge as she looked tense, pupils shrinking just a bit within the colored discs of her irises. Though she made no move to attack him. Yet. She looked rather like cornered prey more than anything else. Jack, I tried so hard, and it wasn't enough.
I can see that, Alex. You've had to deal with so much. More than anyone should. He held his arms out to the side, palms upward and exposed as he let the dagger clatter to the floor. He let his head dip slightly, chin and eyes lowering as he spoke. You're still human, Alex, capable of making mistakes and getting better. And you need to get better. More than most. For you, dear girl, are the Belmonts. He sighed, showing his slight contempt of that little motion as he shook his head and said, almost as if reciting something, into every generation a Belmont is born. One in all the world, a chosen one. They alone will wield the vampire killer to fight the vampire, his minions, the darkness, to stop the spread of their evil and the swell of their number. They are the Belmonts. And I can't say that I envy you that cross to bear.
And then you just killed him. All of you did. Just like that. Snapping her fingers for emphasis, she noticed his gesture and held up her hand in a warning of her own. Like he was nothing. You defiled him, desecrated him like he was nothing. Oh, she was seething now. Her frantic tears had shifted to rage and her lip curled into a sneer. I saw what you did. How you killed him. How you took his hand and just left him there to rot. You didn't even have the decency to bury him. After a moment of glaring, debating on whether or not to lash out once again and act on that boiling anger, she backed herself against the window frame and clung to it, digging her nails into the wood slightly. It took a minute or so, but she calmed, at least visibly so. I set the tavern on fire. I was trying to cover up what had happened. You guys made a royal mess of things by killing him. I was trying to clean it up however I could. Isaac was the only thing standing between the Baron and the Watcher family. Without him, there was nothing to stop them from turning his manor into a bloodbath. I didn't get to tell you, or anyone, that I had the displeasure of speaking to Ernst in the street the other day. I caught him following me. He and Lady Watcher. They were ready to hand this town over to Strahd at the drop of a hat. Isaac may have been a maniac, and he may have terrorized this town in his own way, but he did a damn good job of protecting it, and he wouldn't have given anyone in Vallaki over to that monster so long as there was breath in his body. As much of a monster as he was still the lesser of two evils. Still, you somehow managed to fix it all. Pushing herself off of the window, she took a step closer to him. My brilliant fool of a friend. Stepping closer still, she reached out and embraced him, burying her cheek into his hair. Oh, how she wished she had her dagger in her hand to plunge into his backside. Squinting her eyes shut, she banished the thought. My brave, God-serving healer, and my clumsy but loyal guardian. I'm still so angry with you all. How could you just sacrifice someone like that? My life is not worth more than anyone else's, even if she was a completely horrible person. Still, you brought me back. I was trapped in that godforsaken doll, and you brought me back. Thank you. It turned out all right in the end, I suppose, didn't it? Our problems may be solved for now, but the towns are just beginning. They have no champion now, Jack. We left them. I've left them defenseless. Listening to his well-recited little speech, one that she'd heard 1,000 times before, Alex froze there before slowly backing away from the former fool. As she stepped back from him, he would be able to see the frown on her face, the look of concern, and something perhaps he had not seen upon her face before, self-doubt, a total lack of self-worth in his practiced praise and attempts to bolster her. Stop, Jack. Stop it. Stop! I can't wield the vampire killer. She looked downright defeated as she confessed this to him. It was the horrible secret she'd been hiding since they departed. Their chosen one was anything but. Alex lowered her head, feeling like a total fraud. She hadn't told them, hadn't wanted to tell them, that the whip she carried wasn't the legendary weapon of evil's bane. When she left home, she had no choice but to leave it behind. The whip rejected her. It was devastating and embarrassing moment of her life that she'd been trying to forget. Only Jeeves knew, and she vaguely wondered why he hadn't mentioned it to her companions either. I tried, but I can't.
They've got hope, although that may not count into much just now. But Valaki's future will at least be one of continuity through marriage rather than one through blood and ouster. The young Watcher woman did not seem to share her mother's predilections, nor the Burgomaster's son his father's. As for a champion, well, Izek was their spear point and their hammer blow, but another can be found. They're not defenseless, just weakened. With the two families together, other solutions become possible. He calmed and waited for her to finish her diatribe before he spoke again. You couldn't before you left, when all your life you fought under the protective auspices of your family. The vampire killer did not reject you. It's just waiting for you. Waiting for you to return to it with spirit reforged and strong enough to wield it without concern for your well-being.
The Baron wanted to hire us. Alex couldn't help but chuckle at that. She'd seen and heard everything while trapped in that little doll. Drying her eyes, she sat down upon the edge of the bed. It was a slow task, but she was regaining her composure. I hadn't planned on staying here that long, Jack. I agreed to stay for the Baron's Blazing Sun Festival, yes, but we already have responsibilities and promises to keep to the people in Barovia. We have to find Lisa and Gertruda. We have to defeat Strahd and free this land of the grasp and the curse of mist. We can't complete those tasks if we're conscripted here, playing at security detail. Sighing softly, she lifted her gaze just enough to glance up at the former fool. For the life of her, she just couldn't understand what any of them saw in her. Alex didn't feel special, she didn't feel powerful, and she certainly didn't feel like the fabled warrior her family and all who knew her made her out to be. She just wanted to do well in the world, to help and protect those who couldn't fight for themselves, and maybe somewhere along the line, live up to the great legacy of her family name in whatever way she could. As much as she wanted to believe Jack's reassurances, her doubts were not so easily banished with words, despite how sincere they seemed. Still, it was not worth belaboring the point, and she had no desire to argue her worth with someone she knew would never allow her the last word. The gleam of the metal dagger in the paltry candlelight caught her eye, and she found herself staring a little too intently at it. She forced herself to look away. I need your help, Jack. Please. These impulses, these horrible thoughts. I can't be allowed to act on them. I'm trying to ignore them, trying to dismiss them, but I don't know how to stop them. I don't know if I can stop them. Please, don't let me hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone.
Yes, he wanted to. And he did, for a job, which was completed. Quite effectively, I might add, if sloppily. That's my job. Always has been. Always will be. To play the fool in the angles. I never said we'd replace Izek. Besides, I'm relatively certain the Burgomaster is afraid to retain me. Quick and efficient, and I'd likely bankrupt him. He can't afford me, let alone us. He listened intent to the young woman, and following her eyes, he rolled his own. With a few short steps, he crossed the distance to retrieve the weapon. We don't have time for this, he told her. Turning back, stepping in easy arm's reach. Each of us spends our entire lives fighting a beast. Each of us battles our devils every day of our lives. They play hide and seek and have the good fortune And yet here you stand with the good fortune of yours being near the surface today. Forcing conflict it takes most years to stage. I'm jealous, so take advantage. He placed the knife blade against his breast, tweaking at her. I believe in you.
His footsteps brought him far too close to her, far too quickly, and without even thinking, her hand shot up to wrap around the handle of the knife as he leveled it over his chest. Her jaw clenched, her eyes widening in the wild urge to sink the dagger in until blood bubbled from around the handle, and she pressed the dagger against his flesh. Though feeling the pressure of the blade against his skin was enough to snap her back to the moment, and Alexandra blinked. Her hand unclenched, and the dagger fell back to the floor with a heavy clang, and she kicked it across the room as far away from herself as she could manage. Glaring up at him, her hands curled in the sheets, and she resisted the urge to outright slap him for that. That wasn't going to help. Don't, she warned him. Don't do that. Here now, it's controlled, Jack. It's not the same. You saw what happened earlier. You saw me in battle. You know what I mean. I don't want to hurt any of you, and I don't want anyone to be afraid of me. I can't be unhinged like that during a fight. Not again. I need help. I'm asking for help. At least for now. Until I can get a grip on myself and get these thoughts out of my head. If I can't trust myself, I'd like to know I can trust you.
My dear girl, I once told you to cut my throat in the instant that I turned against the group. Rest assured, Alexandra, I will extend you the same courtesy the moment you become a danger to those around. I brought you back because I felt guilty. If that becomes a mistake, I will deal with it in the same efficient and expedient manner in which I deal with all of my mistakes until proceeded. That being said, I can see the lust of blood in your eyes, girl. It's not controlled here no more than it was in the heat of battle. If you'd like, I can even start slapping you and see how much it takes before you try to stab me.
I'd rather you not cut my throat if it's all the same. I've been dead, Jack, and I'm not in any particular hurry to die again. But I would appreciate you stopping me if I tried to harm anyone else, especially any of you. Cracking her neck with a twist of her head to the side, she tried to stifle a yawn with the back of her hand. What he had to say next brought a murderous glare back into her gaze, and she glanced up at him. Raise a hand to me and see what happens. Even she could hear the malice and threat in her voice. Alex frowned then and stood from the bed, brushing past him to retrieve the discarded pillow from earlier. If you can't be my voice of reason until I regain my own, then I'll beg Elias. If you don't want the responsibility, just tell me and I'll not burden you with it. But I do need one, Jack. I would think that's evident. I'm not asking you to kill me. I just need you to help me not kill any of you. Do that for me and I can rest easy.
The older man unrolled his eyes and sighed. I'll admit I'm a mite curious why you did not. I might think you'd value his opinion and physical prowess for restraining you more than you might that of a second-rate old jester.
I have my reasons, Jack. Isn't that enough for you? Alas, she knew the answer before she even asked. It was nowhere near enough for him, and he certainly wouldn't let her off that easy. Flopping back down up on the side of the bed, she fluffed the pillows, brushing the excess shedded feathers from the sheets, and drew one leg up to rest her chin upon her knee as she peered up at him. I love Jeeves, I really do. For as spoiled and pampered as I may seem, even for a noble, and for as awful as I may be to him, he's always been there for me. My faithful, dutiful shadow. He's been more of a parent to me than my own mother and father ever really were. I was a tool to them, Jack, a weapon, to be crafted and forged into a killer from the moment I could walk. They never wanted a child. They wanted a blank slate and raw material. They didn't really. Jeeves did. He was the only one who ever looked at me and treated me like I was a person my whole life. He's so damnably loyal, and I don't know why. That's why I can't ask this of him. Because he would just stand there and smile at me as I tore his still-beating heart out of his chest. He's a good person, despite his less-than-savory habits. And he's one of the very few I know in this world. I can't put this on him. He's never learned how to say no to me. Never set any boundaries or limits upon me. He'd always let me get into far too much trouble. And he was always the first one to bail me out of it, too. To take the blame for my mischief. A fond little smile crept upon her face then. The first real, sincere smile she'd shown since they'd traded her life for Lady Watcher's. They tried to dismiss him so many times, my parents. But oh, I'd scream. I'd cry. I'd throw things, break things, kick them, bite them. I was a downright terror, Jack. And I'd cling to his leg and not let go until they agreed to keep him on, just to shut me up. I didn't want him to go. I never wanted him to go, not really. I could have survived just fine without my mother and father, but I would have been lost without Jeeves. He means more to me than I've ever bothered to tell him, and I'd do anything in my power that I could to help him and protect him. Chuckling softly, she reached for her water once more and took another hearty sip before setting it back down. I don't know Elias like I know Jeeves, but I know from what he has shared with me that he's definitely too good for this world. Our poor God-loving warrior of faith. He's faced far worse in this world than I'd ever had to up to just yesterday. He doesn't share much, but what he does share is purposeful and full of substance. He's braver than he has any right to be, and he has the patience of a saint. I wish I had his conviction at times, I really do. He's unwavering and merciful, pious and flexible, righteous and humble all at the same time. Men of God spend their entire lives trying to master such, which he's achieved perhaps from the first time he's lifted his first Bible into his hands. He always has a gentle smile and a kind word for me, even when all I give him in return is venom and indifference. I'm amazed and astounded at his tolerance and serenity every day, even in the midst of fighting for our lives. He never crosses the line, not like I have, not like I do. I wish I had even a glimmer of his peace. It's because of that I will ask him the same burden I ask of you. You're right in the simple truth that he is larger and stronger than you, and should the need ever rise to restrain me by physical means, he is obviously the superior choice in terms of brawn. But you... She gazed up at him, deadly serious. For a time, it was almost like looking at the old Alexandra, the woman they knew before she'd been slain by the maniac captain of guard. The flash of fire and darkness that lurked just behind her eyes was extinguished momentarily when faced with the sheer honesty of her finally opening her heart. Her smile spread. You're clever, Jack. Too damn clever for your own good sometimes. But it always seems to work out for you. You're brilliant and witty, and you have a way with words unlike anyone I've ever known in my life. You're charming and mysterious, charismatic and aloof, and you make it difficult for anyone you come across not to like you. You're observant, and you never leave any stone unturned. You don't give yourself nearly the credit you deserve, and you're worth far more to me alive as my friend than you ever would be as a sacrifice. You alone instantly recognized that I was trapped in that damn doll, and you alone picked me up, cradled me and protected me when the others wouldn't have been any the wiser. I hated you all for killing Isaac. I was infatuated and enamored with him. I'm ashamed of feeling that way, but I'm not ashamed to admit it. I made a mistake. It was an error and a lapse in judgment that cost me my life. But you were the only one who was more concerned with just getting me back rather than getting retribution for what happened. And you would have killed him with the dignity and respect that he hadn't given me. You're beyond intelligent, and you always find a way to put the pieces together and talk your way out of just about any situation. That's why I'm asking you to do this for me, Jack. Because if anyone can get through to me using words and words alone, it's you. Will you help me?
Jack eyed the younger woman, rolled his eyes, and sighed again. Well, I suppose if you're going to get all mushy about it, then yes, I will help you. I will swear on my life and my honor and whatever other such things one swears upon, but I will do my best to contain you with my words and my spells and potentially my slapping hands. Though I retain free reign upon where I slap you in the moment.
Raise a hand to me, fool, and see where it gets you. And with that, she finally crawled back into bed.
There's that new and lovely Alex I've come to watch.
And thus short rest can now be applied.
That took a lot more time than I was expecting.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it would take longer, but that wasn't that bad. Did you get all that, Mike?
Yeah. I'm all there.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that was a great bit of writing. Thank you to both of you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
It's worth some special XP, I'm sure.
There will be rewards in the future. Unless you just want gold to rain down from the ceiling immediately.
No, that's quite alright.
And roses at their feet.
Gold, no, but I would appreciate some roses and XP, mostly XP.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we got enough gold coming from the Burgomaster later to collect.
And Jack says, thank you.
Yeah, we have much more gold than we have opportunity to buy something worth buying.
I know.
No, we don't. And don't give the DM ideas, okay?
Anyway. Short rest applied. Shall we reconvene?
I applied the short rest earlier. You were in the combat track.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
All right, so Elias will step out from the bedroom that he was in and check the hallway and look around.
Alright. You see a stairwell that winds down one side of the hallway, and then you know the rest kind of leads back to other rooms and downstairs.
I think we need the map back up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there for everyone but you because you tried.
Oh, here it is. I just had to move up.
Also, there was a stairwell down to a deeper basement, from what I remember, too.
Yep.
There was the cellar where you defeated a bunch of the monsters
Oh,
in the
okay.
druid.
Yeah, we went there.
Never mind.
There's lots of broken bottles.
I think we've seen everything in this house, or whatever it is. That we know of. Winery, yeah, winery.
Definitely looks like people live here. Where those people are, you don't quite know, but there's enough bedrooms and beds and stuff to really fit a good-sized family here.
I will suggest to whoever can hear me that we try to locate that wizard that was outside, since the corpse weeds and mandragoras are gone.
I agree. It's best if we find that man.
Yes, and going outside, it doesn't take you long. You see that he is peeking at you from just beyond the tree line.
So does it look like he wants to be seen, or he's just being sneaky?
Yeah, he's being cautious. He
Okay.
doesn't know if it's safe. You think that the last time you saw him, he was trying to usher you over to him quietly, and when you were loud and summoned the attack of all of those monsters, he retreated back into the tree line once again.
Yeah. Elias will call out to him, you there, friend. We apologize, but now the coast should be clear.
He kind of looks behind him for a second, and you hear him say something in a gruff voice, and then he begins to walk out to you. Once he bridges the gap, you see he's quite an odd old man. He has an impressive-looking staff, ornately carved, but he's wearing all sorts of shiny trinkets all over his green cloak. And he walks up to you and he says, "Well, we don't get many visitors around. Looks like maybe some of the trouble's been gone. Is it safe?"
We dispatched all of the druids that were in the winery causing trouble and poisoning the wine.
Ah, shame that. I wonder how much of our wine's poisoned.
Yes, we're wondering much the same ourselves. I'll be able to test it after I have a good rest, but we were sent here by the Blue Water Inn over in Vallaki because they're in need of a stock of wine because, as you might be aware, there's quite a shortage in the towns to the east, so they sent us after some of the wizards of wine.
Why, that little shithead. All he's concerned about is his wine, not about how maybe his family might be in trouble. This is blasphemy.
Family, you say?
The folks at the Blue Water Inn in Vallaki. It's my son and his wife.
That sounds about right.
Something that they had neglected to mention last time we were there.
But with the scorn and derisiveness in their voice, I figured he was either family or a rival family, and I was putting my money on Grandpa.
Aye, well, how's he and his family faring then?
Well, to be honest with you, their establishment is quite the oasis in that town. It's one of the only few friendly places we could find, and they seem to be doing quite well with their business.
If only he was as friendly with his family as he was with strangers.
Well, to be fair, Elias has spent most of his life in a monastery. He wouldn't know good inns if we bit him on the nose. It's okay. It's doing fine. It's not doing well, however.
Well, if you'll excuse me for a moment. And he turns around and he quickly hobbles back over to where, from where he retreated into the tree line. And as soon as he gets kind of close to it, you can see him waving a motion as if it's safe to come out for people. And you see quite a good number of people start emerging from the tree line. It looks like they are hidden there quite well. And they all look relieved that they can finally come out. Some of them look extremely tired.
So you all live here?
Yes, he starts making his way back to you, and his family is following him. And he says, "Hi, my name is Davian Martikoff, and who do I have the pleasure and who do I have to thank for liberating our winery of these monsters?"
I am Elias Asher. I'm a cleric.
My name is Alexandra Belmont.
My name is No One from Nowhere.
She promptly elbows Jack.
Ow.
And this quiet man behind us is Jeeves, Alexandra's loyal servant.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet each one of you. As I said, I'm Davian. This is Adrian, my eldest son. Elver, this is my youngest son. Stefina, this is my daughter. And this is Dag. That's Stefina's husband. You also see a couple of children that he didn't bother introducing. And it looks like Stefina's holding a baby.
Wow. Can I attempt to whisper to Jack? Is that possible?
Sure.
Okay. Elias leans in and says as quietly as he can, so we took some things from them, didn't we? How do we proceed with that?
So, in the course of liberating your vineyard, we liberated some things from your things. I don't know if you want them back or not.
Well, talking about taking our personal property, of course we want our property.
Hey, we only saw you, and we didn't know who was alive.
Well, I understand completely, but, you know, if you're thinking to keep it for some reward, I don't know what we could have that would be all that much valuable.
Well, sir, we mostly just came for the wine, so it did take some of the wine bottles from the pantry. We actually thought that the druids were in possession of this place, and we didn't think anyone lived here, but we just mostly need some wine to carry back to the Wizards of Wine, hopefully something that's not poison, and whatever else we've taken we can return to you.
Whatever wine you want, you can be sure to take. It'll be some time before we're able to find out what is poisoned and what is not, as you said, so...
Also, we slept in your beds, and we may have debauched them just a little.
Davian walks up to Jack specifically and looks him up and down like he's really considering who this man is, and says, "You sure are a spry young man. What is this staff you have? I think I saw one of the druids wielding that thing."
He did, right up until I magicked the life out of him.
Ah, well, we're just wizards in name. It looks like you might be a wizard in trade.
Something like that. Jack Motley, pleased to meet you. I imagine I remind you of yourself at a younger age.
He extends a hand out and expects a shake.
Jack shakes his hand.
Yes, well, you might want to consider putting that staff you found back wherever you may have found it. The druids that wielded that, quite evil.
Oh yes, it is terribly dark magic. Terribly dark magic. Oh, you wouldn't believe the dark magic in it. But I think it's safer with me than with someone else.
Well, be careful, son. I'm in your debt for you and your friends helping us.
Yes, Jack is quite talented at controlling his dark magic and not allowing anything to happen badly to us while he's controlling such dark magic.
My magic is not dark. it's kind of shady sometimes.
At least not the magic that separates you into clones and tries to kill us.
We did find
Once
a
again,
box
that wasn't me, that was a demon.
and some gold. I would be more than happy to return it if you need it back.
Well, unfortunately, we do need gold to survive. You know, it's not like we can survive on everything just here in the winery.
Let's see. Well, I think we should pay you something back in with interest, considering we are going to take some of your wine, even if it may be poisoned.
No, no. You can take anything that I can possibly offer. It's just, we do need to survive, so a bit of gold helps.
Let's see. Does anyone recall exactly what we had gotten? I think it was almost like 50 apiece.
Yeah, it was like 50 apiece.
Did you happen to find any gems that look like pine cones?
Look
We
at
did
Jeeves.
find a bag of gems, but I'm not quite sure what they looked like. I didn't really inspect them myself.
Who took the gems?
Alex did.
Well, there you go.
Would you like to produce them? I don't know if you were talking to him or...
Yeah, she'll pull the gems, the locket, and whatever gold she took out of her bag.
Oh, he kind of looks embarrassed and looks around a little bit and says, "Wow, you certainly thoroughly checked for any treasure, didn't you?" And he says that these are not the gems I was specifically referring to. If you give me all the gold back, you can have the gems.
I'm
You
down.
can have the gold, plenty of my own. Thank you. Sorry,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
raided the chest upstairs.
It's fine, dearies. You didn't know. The gems I'm talking about are the only reason that any kind of wine vines will grow in this land. The grapes just don't have enough sunlight to be very healthy. However, there were 3 gems originally. Don't know what happened to the first, but the druids took the other 2 a few days ago, about 5 days ago. And then 2 days ago, it seems they came back. I was hoping that maybe they had brought one of them with them. Without them, this winery is sure to dry up. There'll be no wine in the land.
Jack face palms.
I'm afraid
Then he
that
looks
was-
angry. No one threatens Alexandra's wine.
Okay.
Yes, well, without those gems, the bottles of wine and barrels that you may take may be the last that this land will ever see, sadly.
Yes, that was Cassidy saying, where did the druids go so we can go and put our boot up there? Oak holes, whatever, I don't know.
Oak holes.
He chuckles and he says, I wasn't expecting any additional help from you fine people, but I think I do know where they took some. There's a place called Yester Hill. It's not too far away.
You may not have been expecting, but someone certainly was.
Yes, it will not be much help to the Blue Water Inn if we only bring back a small portion that may not even be good if we can't replenish the ongoing stock of wine. So, and Elias was going to subtract 50 gold from the inventory, so that would go back to him.
Okay, I'm sure he'll appreciate that very much. He asks, do you have a map? And then you pull out your map that Van Richten gave you, and he kind of shows you this path past the Wizards of Wine that cuts through the woods a bit and ends up at a hill. He says, that right there, that's Yester Hill. I believe the druids may have taken those gems there.
All right, and everyone, if you wouldn't mind terribly, please give the man back his gold.
Jack gives him his gold and a friendly wink and a nod.
Did you also want the locket back?
When you mention the locket, he looks embarrassed again and just holds a hand out and kind of gets close to you as if he doesn't want anyone else to see it.
She deposits it discreetly into his hand.
And he gives you a thankful nod. His expression's one of kind of a mournful sadness and embarrassment.
Again, I'm sorry we took the liberty of raiding the chest upstairs.
Well, I'm just impressed that you found the key under the... and then he looks to the rest of his family. It's fine. It's fine what you're just doing what adventurers do, I suppose.
Oh yes, we were doing what adventurers would do all night long. It was very vigorous activity.
Yes, didn't
Probably the only reason we find the key.
Didn't you said you ransacked the beds, Jack? What was that all about?
No, I said debauched the beds.
As that doesn't sound good either.
Think Bacchus, my friends.
Anyway, so yes, we'll go after your gems. So you said they were shaped like pine cones.
Yes, you can't miss them. They're obviously magical. We used them to help grow plants, and after the monstrous plants I've seen come with these druids, I can only imagine what they're doing with them.
And you need all three for this to function correctly?
No. Even one will help us produce. But the weakest one produces our weakest wine.
Ah.
The third
Oh,
one
I
has
need to know
been
which
gone
one's which.
for much too long. We haven't made that wine in years thanks to the disappearance of the strongest one. But the best wine that they like around here, the Red Dragon Crush, that's what we need. That's what we need from the second most powerful gem.
I see.
How are we to know which one's which?
I think you'll be able to tell. They're about the general size and shape of a pine cone.
Also, I think if we find pine cone gems, we bring them all back, and yes, we just give them to you.
I'd rather retrieve them all.
If we can.
Do you have any idea what happened to wine?
Sorry, you cut out there.
Do you have any idea what happened to the gem that made the strongest wine? My friend Alexander is very interested in that one.
Well, that one's
Pardon?
been missing for probably about a decade. We don't know what happened to it.
She eyes Jack dubiously and rolls her eyes and crosses her arms.
Uh-huh. One of us was drinking out of a wine barrel in the street, and it was not I, my dear.
Callbacks, deep cuts to the first session.
Yeah.
Her face reddens and she glares at him.
Well, it sounds like, I imagine Strahd himself is making some mighty fine wine with your most rare pinecone gem, is what it sounds like.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Alright, then I suppose we should be off then.
Although, before we go, have you heard the name Gertruda? Young woman about like this, blonde.
Gertruda's the
No,
dark-haired one.
I'm afraid we don't get many visitors out this way.
I can see why.
And how about this lovely man here? He may or may not have been a wolf at the time. Minor illusion of the scarred man.
He looks very similar to someone that my family and I deeply despise.
Jack puts an arm around him and says, "Tell me more."
Well, not too far from here, in the woods, There's a den of werewolves. Very dangerous. That man is their pack leader. He works directly with Strahd.
Hmm.
Would you be so kind as to mark that upon our map, please?
Yes, I can do this, but you understand that to fight a werewolf can leave you...
Oh yes, very dangerous. Very scary. Big teeth, sharp claws, angry personality. Terminal case of the furries, I understand.
And a pack of them, you said.
He did indeed.
They are quite powerful. I wouldn't recommend going there without precautions. You will probably just end up adding to their numbers.
Hmm.
Werewolves are notoriously territorial and will probably be there for quite some time. They've already been there for probably several years, haven't they?
Yes, they have. The
So that
werewolves
will
have
keep-
always been here, but that man, he came in and took over the pack.
Hmm.
Yes, it will keep. For now. Or I might disappear in the night and go find a way to deal with it myself. Who knows? That's the joy of things. We should go find the pinecone gems.
Yes, and Jack, weren't you going to have your rapier silvered in Valaki before you would do that?
If I could find some silver, which as I looked, he looks left, he looks right, digs in his pockets. Nope, no silver yet.
Hmm.
Jeeves, you have a rusty old silver short sword. I believe it's a short sword. Maybe a rapier.
Yes.
We have two silver short swords. One is rusty, one isn't.
I
Right.
have 168 silver pieces.
Well, this would all have been lovely to know back in Valaki. Yes, it would have.
Well, actually, Elias didn't know that. It was a private conversation you had with the burgomaster. But maybe
I know. Don't you know it's your job to understand everything that goes on everywhere?
I figured you might have told
Especially
him.
when it ties in to my personal little problems.
I think Jack might have mentioned it to them. But we should have two silver short swords. We found one that was rusted and.
Yeah, I have a silver short sword as well.
Yeah, the rusted one was in the well, and the nicer one was just in the basement of the death house.
Yes.
It's silver, it'll shine up. Let's go and get these pinecone gems. I might keep one for a little bit and shove it up someone's ass. Let's go.
You're welcome, Jack.
At that comment, Alex glares at me.
Oh, you don't have a lock on bloodlust in this group.
And then glares at Jeeves.
I think Jack is just embarrassed he finally forgot something important.
You shut up.
Oh.
Shut your holy whore mouth, Crusader.
Holy whore.
Wow.
I like that one.
Glowers as he stomps off.
Shall we be off, gentlemen? I think we've spent quite enough time lurking around here. We should let
Yes.
this man get back to work. Whatever work he can do here.
Yeah, and I imagine it was pretty entertaining seeing us have the exchange.
Yes, his whole family looks quite tired, but entertained by heroes who have liberated their home from the threat of the druids.
If you
And,
ever, if you have need of further gardening, you let us know.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate your help, and I must ask when you have more time about why you ask of the werewolf leader.
Hmm.
But please, if you must, go.
Before we go, one quick question, sir. Do you perhaps know why the druids moved in here and took over this place?
There's odd witches in these lands. I believe that maybe they were under their persuasion.
Hmm.
3 of them, old hags, like to sell pies.
Yes.
We've met.
Hmm. Yes, not a good meeting either. Also, Jack, the man asked if you wouldn't mind sharing why you were looking for the scarred man.
Oh. I'm gonna put this in somewhere very painful. He picks up his rapier. pokes out at the air with it.
Is that a silver drapier?
It is not.
Not yet.
Davian looks at it and he says, I'm afraid you're gonna need a bit more help than that.
Yes, I will.
We were just discussing that.
Hence the anguished cry.
Aye, but sometimes there's more help that can be given than just silver.
Do tell. Jack is once again arms around this man. This time like a lover.
Well, such help we only reserve for those we truly believe that might deserve it.
Ooh.
And sorry, Mr. Jack, but anyone who wields a staff such as that, not quite sure we can trust them.
Even if
I'm not wielding the staff, I am hanging on to the staff so that no one else uses it. I suspect that if I were to overuse this would break my mind. Further.
Yes, but perhaps if we could bring your gems back, that would raise your trust in us.
I'm sorry, would you like to keep the staff?
Are you offering it to Davy?
I'm holding it up in my palm, outstretched.
To
Yes, Davian.
Davian says, if I take that staff, I'm gonna break it in half.
I'd suggest you let someone younger and stronger do it, but other than that, by all means.
He grabs it and, with an impressive amount of strength for an old man, he cracks it over his knee, and you hear
Wow.
a wailing scream emanate from the staff. It shocks you right down to the core of your soul. It's so loud and unexpected. You see rustling in the bushes, in the vines, and kind of in the tree line of corpse weeds that are putting their vine-like little hands up and then screaming and falling over dead.
We should have just done that in the first place.
He throws it on the ground. You can see that the branches of the staff are actually bleeding, and he spits on it.
Lesson learned. If we come across another one of these horrible muffins, just snap it in half.
Potentially. Keep in mind, this is the land we're in, and things, I imagine. Magic items are not easy to come by here, as we've seen. Something made this. Something might get angry about it.
Let's be on our way then.
Best of luck in your adventures. If you can retrieve the stones that will help us make wine, then you will have done more to save all of Barovia than you could possibly imagine. People here depend on wine, maybe a bit too much at times, but it's the only release they have.
We will bring them back. All 3 of them. Maybe not all at the same time, but we will retrieve them all.
Yes, land of demons and alcoholics. Let's go. Get that help. I mean, gemstones. I mean, vengeance.
All right. So are you guys going to start heading over to Yester Hill?
Yeah, and we're getting close to a stopping point there.
Yes, and that's good. It's getting kind of late. I'm sorry we didn't have much time to play. 2-hour sessions would be a little better for me during my crunch time at work and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't want you to stay too late tonight because you have to get back and do the Discord tomorrow night too, so you need to rest up, man.
Yeah. I think it'll go well. I still haven't read over the comments that Angel has made in the Google document to say which questions he wants to avoid and all that other good stuff. So for all I know, we might have more room for questions, or he's going to get into the deep stuff.
Well, and Carria has like half of the other ones, so we just have to pick from all of those.
Right. Well, I've grouped all his together. He's really knocking it out of the park for engagement. I really appreciate what he's doing on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
That he posts there. one would think it might be too much, but on the other hand, if you look at the engagement that he gets and the energy that he's,
Yeah.
that's multiplying from it, I think he's actually doing a good bit for the community.
Yeah, it's really interesting how that worked out, because like for a while there he was just like posting old Kickstarter updates, and then it was just, people were like paying attention to it and like commenting on it. I think it brought more people in because he was doing that. So
Right.
pretty neat. Well, let me stop the recording now. Doot doot.